First run of the night, on course for slalom, we have Willa Murray. First up for the boys is going to be Miles Luther on GS. Up next for the girls on slalom is Maya Baldwin of Caledonia. And up next for the gents is Colin Cadman from Glen Lake. All right, Willa Murray coming through the finish with a time of 29:32. Maya Baldwin now on course, and Aaliyah Blackmore on deck. All right, Colin Casman on GS on the course. Colin finished up his first run with a time of 21:63. Next up on course for GS is Braden Sorensen of Onekama. Aaliyah Blackmore waiting to take her run on slalom. All right, Aaliyah Blackmore now on course. Braden Sorensen coming through the finish with a time of 21:71. Lily Wolf on deck and David Potgieter on course for GS. Blackmore through the finish with a time of 29:01. Lily Wolf on course. David finishing up with a time of 22:37. Ben Stoops on deck. And then over on the ladies slalom, Jacqueline Hearn on deck.
I just missed it when I cleared out.
You did good.
Jack, did you see my legs were getting wide there? I was not getting good end stretches.
Lily Wolf of Benzie coming through with a time of 29:71. Now Glen Lake's Jacqueline Hearn on course. Ben Stoops leaving the gate. Jaden Thompson of Glen Lake on deck. And over on the girls, Kylie Thompson of Caledonia on deck.
I was not thinking that. I was thinking if I go any faster, I'm literally going to fall on my face. I was like...
Ben Stoops and Jacqueline finishing up. Ben finished up with a time of 21:60. 21:60, good enough for first place at the moment. Jacqueline finished up with a time of 34:23. On course, we have Jaden Thompson and Kylie Thompson. Up next for the boys will be Reese Teal of Onekama and Ashlyn Blackmore of Onekama. Kylie Thompson finished up with a time of 33:96. Jaden Thompson finished up with a time of 46:08. Ashlyn Blackmore on course for slalom. Benzie's Elsa Carter on deck. Reese Teal ready to take his run over on the GS side. Braden Smith of Caledonia will be on deck. Ashlyn coming through the finish with a time of 31:82. Elsa Carter now on course, and Glen Lake's Elena Grant, on deck. All right, Reese just came through the finish with a time of 21:81. Gatekeepers, please fix the gate at the bottom if you could. Thank you much. Gatekeepers, please fix the gate at the bottom of the course. Right, Elsa Carter came through the finish with a time of 33:88. Elena Grant on course, as well as Braden Smith coming through the finish with a time of 22:24.
Good job, Brayden.
On deck we have Caledonia's Liz Hilton on the slalom side, and Benzi's Aiden O'Dwyer on the GS side. Thank you for fixing that gate.
Go, Liz.
Elena Grant coming through with a time of 38:37. Both Aiden O'Dwyer and Liz Hilton on course. Glen Lake's Hawthorne Sutherland and Onekima's Brecken Cotter on deck. Aiden O'Dwyer through the finish with a time of 21:47. Good enough for first place currently. Hawthorne now on course. Brecken Cotter now on course for the girls. Liz Hilton coming through the finish right now.
Go, Liz.
She finished with a time of 40:86. Hawthorne Sutherland came down, finished with a time of 22:98. Luke Smith of Onekma on deck for the boys, and Benzi's Moira Mosher on deck for the girls. Brecken Cotter coming through, making sure to get through that gate. Luke Smith finished up at the time of 21:83. Brecken Cotter finished up at the time of 60:65. Mo will be going up for a rerun. Mo will be going up for a rerun.
That sucks, but take it off.
On course for the gentlemen is Ben Deigel from Caledonia. On course for the ladies is Josiah from Caledonia. On deck will be Onekma's Annika Hegg and Benzi's Keegan Payne. Never mind, Glen Lake's Justin Thompson on deck for the guys. He's now leaving the gate. Benjamin finished up with a time of 24:42.
Yeah, sounds like they have to be ready to ride the ruts and slalom too.
Justin Thompson now on course. Josiah finished up at the time of 45:59. On deck we have Onekma's Aubin Alley and Benzi's Althea Gaylor. Annika finished up her run with a time of 34:66. Althea Gaylor now on course. Aubin Alley leaving the gate right now. On deck we have Madison Reynolds from Caledonia and Aiden Brown of Caledonia. Aubin Alley coming through the finish with a time of 21:97. 21:97. Althea finishing up with a time of 37:72. We now have Eden Brown and Madison Reynolds on course. Glen Lake's Bryce Cundiff on deck, and Onekma's Alejandra Gill on deck. Aiden Brown finished up with a time of 22:65. Bryce Cundiff now on course. Bryce Cundiff finished up with a time of 25:12. Jamie Riley now on course for the gents in GS. Jamie coming through the finish with a time of 22:94. 22:94. We now have Cohen Broomfield on course for the gents. Cohen Broomfield coming through the finish with a time of 22:25. Alejandra Gill now going to be on course for slalom. Button Lake's Porter Martin waiting in the wing for his start. On deck we have Benzie's Fleur Denny for the girls and Onekama's Phil Putney for the guys. Porter Martin and Alejandra Gill are racing down right now. Alejandra finishing up with a time of 38:57. 38:57. Mr. Porter Martin finishing up with a time of 31:09. 31:09. Phil Putney and Fleur Denny on course. Currently we have Caledonia's Derek Pritchard waiting in the wing and Caledonia's Tamara S. waiting on deck. Phil Putney saving it at the end there, finishing it with a time of 25:87. 25:87. Derek Pritchard now on course. Onekama's Landon Tennant on deck. Derek Pritchard finishing up with a time of 23:64. 23:64. Landon Tennant getting ready for his run. Tamara now on course. Fleur finished up with a time of 67:59. 67:59. We have Peter Calhoun from Caledonia waiting on deck and Sydney Bentley from Onekama waiting on deck. Mr. Landon Tennant finishing up with a time of 23:59. 23:59. Peter Calhoun now on course. Tamara finishing up with a time of 41:60. 41:60. Sydney Bentley now on course. Waiting in the wing, we have Ethan Kaczynski of Onekama and Aaron Beckman of Caledonia. Peter Calhoun coming down towards the finish right now, and Sydney Bentley working her way down. Peter Calhoun finished up with a time of 24:11. 24:11. Currently over on the girls' side, we're actually going to have that rerun for Mo. Moira Mosher is on course. She just left the gate, doing her rerun. Sydney Bentley coming through the finish, finishing up with a time of 44:19. 44:19. Ethan Kaczynski working his way down, as well as Moira Masha. On deck we have James Deigel of Caledonia and Aaron Peckham of Caledonia. Ethan finishing up there with a time of 28:34. 28:34. Moira Masha finishing up with a time of 36:23. 36:23. James Deigel now on course. Onekama's Kaido Nita on deck. James coming through the finish with a time up 25:69. 25:69. Aaron Peckham on course for the ladies, and Onekama's Kaido Nita ready to leave the gate.
Do it that way.
I don't think they're worried about the boys running that. They were worried about the girls have to run it after. Same thing with us. Yeah, you did make it on there. I know.
Aaron Peckham finished up with a time of 48:66. 48:66. Kate Onita coming through the finish right now with a time of 24:65. 24:65 for Kato. Mia Thompson on course for the ladies. Waiting in the wing will be Caledonia's Vicky Bruce, and looks like on the course for the gents is Gavin Dean of Caledonia. Waiting in the wing is James Harper, also from Caledonia.
Are we still running again?
Yep, go up. Oh, geez.
Got it. A little bit out.
Leah Thompson finishing up with a time of 46:70. Gavin Dean finishing up with a time of 25:10. Vicky Bruce now on course for the ladies. Waiting in the wing is Ada Korzeniewski of Onekama. About to be on course for the gents is James Harper of Caledonia.
I thought I was gonna die there.
Yeah, you did good.
Do you see? I was like,
I know you did. You saved
I had
it.
to tuck it forward.
Vicky Bruce finishing up with a time of 39:01. 39:01. James Harper coming through the finish with a time of 26:16. 26:16. On course for the girls is Ada Korzeniewski of Onekama. Waiting in the wing is Kaylee Price of Caledonia. We have Luke Smith on course for the gents. Waiting in the wing is Brendan Donnelly. Brendan Donnelly, also of Caledonia. Luke Smith coming through the finish with a time of 25:91. 25:91. Brendan Donnelly now ready to take off. Ada Korzeniewski working her way through down towards the finish. Kaylee Price just starting her run at the top. Ada finished up with a time of 54:82. 54:82. Kaylee Price working her way down, as well as Brendan Donnelly working his way down. On deck we have James Pritchard of Caledonia and Jasmine Lapp of Onekama. All right, Brennan finished up with a time of 27:39. 27:39.
He's like kind of over.
Kaylee Price finishing up with a time of 64:41. James Pritchard now on course, coming down towards the finish.
something else, but I couldn't tell what it was.
Oh, yeah. If you straddle, you have to go back up and then clear the pole correctly.
Oh, okay.
You straddle and then did not.
Ready to take their runs are Caledonia's Riddick Verbal and Jasmine Lapp of Onekama.
So do you think she's going to take one?
Both Jasmine and Riddick on the course. Waiting in the wings, we have Caledonia's
Codes that belong to boys. You have codes that belong to boys. Yeah, they might have boy cooties.
They totally have boy cooties.
I was just told like a warning.
on deck. We have Caledonia's Ada Peterson and Caledonia's Mason Langland. Riddick coming through the finish with a time of 26:75. Mason now on course. Jasmine Lapp coming through the finish with a time of 44:03. Ada Peterson now on course. Ada Decker on deck. Over on the guy side, Mason Langland making his way towards the finish. Braylon Walmo waiting in the wings. All right, Mason finished up with a time of 26:99. 26:99 for Mason. Braylon now on course, as well as Ada Peterson working her way down. Braylon Walma through the finish with a time of 27:94. Maxwell Dahl now on course. Mr. Jackson Pugh on deck.
Go Ada!
Ada Peterson through the finish with a time of 66:61. 66:61. Ada Decker on course. And Adia Whistler on deck. Maxwell Dahl finishing up. Maxwell finished up with a time of 30:45. 30:45. Jackson Pugh leaving the start gate up for the gents. Jackson Pugh now on course for the gents. Miles Luther for his second run will be up next. Miles Luther for his second run will be up next. With Miles Luther ready to go in the start gate, first run is over for all boys. So if anyone has missed their run, please make it known and report to the top ASAP. First run over for boys. Jackson finished up his run with a time of 29:83. Miss Ada Decker finished up her run with a time of 61:22. We now have Adia Whistler on course for the girls. Elizabeth Hanhart from Caledonia waiting on deck. Whenever applicable, Caledonia coach, please report to the starting booth. Whenever possible, Caledonia coach, please head towards the Buck Shack starting booth. Thank you much. Adia Whistler finishing up her run. We have Elizabeth Hanhart now on course. Adia finished up with a time of 66:62. 66:62. Elizabeth making her way down. Running a quick slip on GS. Thank you everyone for running a quick slip on GS. And just another reminder, Caledonia coach, whenever applicable, please head down to the Buck Shack, down to the timing shack at the bottom of Buck. Thank you much. Elizabeth finished up her run with a time of 72.81. 72.81.
I'll just tell you, that snow is not fun. Aaron is great. The knees aren't hurt. No, ibuprofen and the other one. I'm okay, thank you. Back off. Maybe I could flavor away.
Yep.
That did finish up runs on both sides, so we're just doing a quick slip, and then we'll be returning for second runs.
Oh, they're only running one?
What's up?
And we're gonna do second runs for boys on GS, girls on slalom. And then when we flip disciplines, Dylan's gonna make a decision on how he wants to run things. It might just be like they run varsities 2 runs first on each, and then JV. So we will see. I mean, it affects me so much. So
That's like it's our race, dude.
we'll do another one. Onakama has 1 B kit on the girls and 1 B kit on the boys, and the rest is all Caledonia. So really, this is not.
I'm gonna go into it.
Okay, do you have water out here?
You're screwed either way.
GS, excuse me, GS, thank you. Willa is now on course. Maya Baldwin from Caledonia will be up next on GS.
She's smoking. Nice.
Willa Murray finished it up with a time of 22:06. Very good time. 22:06. Maya Baldwin of Caledonia now on course. Onekama's Aaliyah Blackmore on deck, waiting in the wings. Maya Baldwin finished up with a time of 24:89. 24:89. Looks like we're going to do a little audible, and Colin Casvin of Glen Lake will be starting off on slalom. He's ready to go whenever. Aaliyah Blackmore starting her run on GS now. Aaliyah Blackmore through the finish with a time of 22:16. Close to Willa's time, but just a little bit off. Lily Wolf of Benzie now on course. Glen Lake's Jacqueline Hearn on deck. Lily Wolf coming through the finish with a good time of 22:11. 22:11, good enough for second place. Close grouping on the first few females. Jacqueline Hearn of Glen Lake coming through, finishing up with a nice time of 24:70. 24:70. Kylie Thompson of Caledonia on deck, ready to start her run on GS. Colin Casvin finally out of the gate. Looks like Braden Sorensen of Onekama will be on deck after Mr. Casvin comes down. Kylie Thompson now on course for Caledonia. Onekama's Brecken Cotter on deck. Braden Sorensen about to get out of the gate himself. Mr. Colin Casvin coming down, finishing up with a time of 31:21. 31:21. Braden Sorensen now on course. Caledonia's David Podjeter on deck. Kylie Thompson came through the finish with a time of 24:45. Onekama's Brecken Cotter. Oh, never mind. Braden Sorensen finished up his slalom run with a time of 29:04. 29:04. Ashlyn Blackmore of Onekama now on course for the girls. Althea Gaylord of Benzie on deck. Waiting for David to start his run over on the slalom side. He's now out of the gate, and on deck will be Ben Stoops from Benzie. Ashlyn Blackmore through the finish with a time of 24:07. 24:07 for Ashlyn. Benzie's Elsa Carter on course for GS, and Glen Lake's Elena Grant on deck. Caledonia's David Podjeter coming down, finishing up with a time of 32:62. 32:62. Ben Stoops now on course for the gents. Elsa Carter finished up with a time of 23:64. 23:64 for Elsa. And Elena Grant of Glen Lake now on course. Ben Stoops finished up with a time of 31:22. 31:22. Elena Graham finished up with a time of 26:53. 26:53. On course for the gents, we have Jaden Thompson of Glen Lake, and on course for the girls, we have Liz Hilton of Caledonia. On deck for the gents, we have Onekama's Reese Teal and Onekama's Brecken Cotter.
What is this like? Fence didn't finish.
Liz Hilton came down, finished up with a time of 27:10. Mr. Jaden Thompson finished up with a time of 41:32. Looks like Brecken Cotter is on course for the girls. Benzies. All right, Brecken Cotter finished up with a time of 25:09. 25:09. Benzies Moira Mosher now on course for the girls, and we're looking at Oneka's Reese Teal waiting for his run on. There he goes. Reese Teal out of the gate on run for slalom. Moira Mosher finished up with a time of 24:03. 24:03. Caledonia's Zozia S now on course. Also on course, coming down. Caledonia's Brayden Smith on deck for slalom.
I might score the best on our team too, just because I have to.
Josiah finished up with a time of 28:10. 28:10. Mr. Reese Teal finished up with a time of 44:79. 44:79.
Only time I'd support.
Annika Hag of Onekama now on course. On deck is Benzies Althea Gaylord. Currently on course over on the gentleman's side, Brayden Smith, Caledonia.
How long are you looking for? Probably 3 years.
Annika Hag coming through the finish with a time of 24:22. 24:22. Althea Gaylord now on course. Caledonia's Brayden Smith coming through the finish with a time of 33:80. 33:80. On course over on the gentleman's side for slalom is Benzies Aiden O'Dwyer. And Althea Gaylord of Benzie coming through with a time of 25:70. 25:70. On course for the females over on the GS side is Madison Reynolds of Caledonia about to leave the gate. On deck for the gents is Hawthorne Sutherland of Glen Lake. Aiden O'Dwyer coming down.
It's that middle section.
Aiden O'Dwyer finished up with a time of 30:82. 30:82, good enough to give him second place currently.
You finished. Everybody's I'm good. I've got one in my pocket. Thank you.
Madison Reynolds of Caledonia coming down, finishing up. Hawthorne Sutherland of Glen Lake on the gent side. Madison finished up with a time of 27:38. 27:38. On course for the girls is Onekama's Alejandra Gill. Waiting on deck over on the gentleman's side is going to be Onekama's Luke Smith. Hawthorne Sutherland adjusted himself and now he's finishing up. He came through the finish with a time of 44:05. 44:05. Alejandra Gill coming through, making her way down her done. On deck will be Benzies for Denny. Alejandra finished up with a time of 34:55. 34:55. Luke Smith making his way down towards the finish, and Caledonia's Benjamin Daigle. Benjamin Daigle about to leave for his run. Luke's time is at 31:49. 31:49 for Luke Smith. Fleur Denny now on course over on the GS side. Caledonia's Camera S waiting on deck. Benjamin Daigle leaving the gate and on course for his run.
Full race without catching.
Fleur finished up with a time of 38:74. 38:74. Caledonia's Tamara S now on course. Onekama's Sydney Bentley waiting for her run. Benjamin's making his way down the course right now.
Good job, Ben.
I don't know what they are.
That's the dumbest. That's so stupid.
Good job, camera.
I did that. I did it on the first video. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I like came to a full stop.
Caledonia team, Tamara S. finished up with a time of 28:54. 28:54. Caledonia's Benjamin Daigle finished up with a time of 40:22. 40:22.
I said how I would.
Yeah.
We're probably going to be done after this.
On course over on the slalom side is going to be Glen Lake's Justin Thompson. He's leaving the gate right now. And then over on the GS side is Onekma's Sidley Bentley. And she'll be leaving the gate very shortly here.
Okay, wait. Let's just take it. What if you came in the same time? Hey, Mom.
My thought right now
On deck over on the slalom side is Onekma's Aubin Alley as these two race towards the finish.
oh my gosh.
Looks like it's Sydney by a nose. Sydney Bentley finished up with a time of 28:11. 28:11. Mr. Justin Thompson finished up his run with a time of 32:26. 32:26. Aubin Alley now on course for slalom. Caledonia's Aaron Peckham just got on course over on the GS side.
I understand, but I can hear my
Aubin Alley finished up with a time of 32:93. 32:93. Aiden Brown of Caledonia now on course over on the slalom side. Over on the GS side, Aaron Peckham just finished up with a time of 31:79. 31:79 for Aaron. Onekma's Leah Thompson now on course on the GS side. Waiting in the wings is Caledonia's Vicky Bruce. Vicky Bruce waiting for her turn. Aiden Brown making his way down towards the finish, finishing up, as Bryce Cundiff of Glen Lake just started his run on the slalom side. Aiden through the finish with a time of 34:27. 34:27 for Aiden. Leah Thompson finished up her run on the GS side with a time of 29:46. 29:46. Vicky Bruce of Caledonia now on course for GS, as Bryce Cundiff of Glen Lake comes racing down slalom. Waiting in the... Oh, never mind, not waiting on the wing. He is now on course, Mr. Jamie Riley of Onekma. On the slalom side. Ada Korzeniewski about to take her run on the GS side.
Girl, you did good. You looked so solid.
Ada Korzeniewski now out of the gate as Jamie Riley finished up his run with a time of 38:71. 38:71 for Jamie. On course for the gents is Caledonia's own Cohen Broomfield. Cohen Broomfield on course on slalom, waiting for Glen Lake, on deck, waiting for his turn is Glen Lake's Porter Martin. Porter Martin waiting for his turn. Ada Korzeniewski racing down, finishing up her run.
Oh, come on, Cohen.
Ada finished up with a time of 32:16. 32:16.
Come on, Cohen.
You should back up like a little bit so I can get the gate hook in it.
Yeah. Did they reset?
Okay.
Cohen Broomfield finished up with a time of 44:48. 44:48.
Going. You're good. What? You're good. Don't worry about that.
Now on course, Glen Lake's Porter Martin, starting his run on slalom.
I think that it was like, because like sometimes like tracks. It's not a big deal. Yeah. I need to start. So we'll see. So like it's gonna go okay.
I don't know if you noticed, I don't do this much anymore.
Phil Putney now on course for the slalom.
Come on, you got it! Hi! Come on, fill up! I don't think those were. You got this! Oh, you got them.
Is that one of ours?
Phil Putney and Justin is finished and came through the time of 51:37. Came through the time of 51:37. Now on course is Caledonia's Derek Pritchard. Derek Pritchard. Derek Pritchard coming through, finishing up as Landon Tennant starts his run up top. Derek came through with a time of 40:37. Up next over on slalom will be Peter Calhoun of Caledonia, after Landon Tennant makes his way down through the finish. Landon Tennant finished up his run with a time of 39:49. Peter Calhoun on course. While I have a moment, I just want to run over some leaders over on the girls' side. In third place with a time of 22:16, Onekoma's Aaliyah Blackmore. In second place from Benzie, Lily Wolf with a time of 22:11. And in first place, Glen Lake's Willa Murray with a time of 22:06. Over on the girls' side, very close grouping for those top three spots. Looks like Peter Calhoun is coming down, finishing up his run as James Deigel has started his run up top. Peter finished up his run with a time of 47:80. James is making his way through the course. While he's doing that, I'll just quickly run over our leaders on the gentlemen's side. Third overall from Glen Lake is Colin Casbin, just edging out Ben Stoops of Benzie by 1/100th of a second. Colin's time was 31:21. Second place goes to Benzie's Aiden O'Dwyer with a time of 30:82. And first place with a very nice run, Onekoma's Braden Sorensen, finishing up with a time of 29:04. All right, James Deigel finished up with a time of 47:26. That will do it for our racers tonight. Everyone, thanks for bearing with us. I know the snow did not keep up as we would have liked it to, but thank you for bearing with us. Hope everyone had a good and safe time. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
I run like a 47 too. I just don't focus on finishing.
Absolutely. I thought I could be at a hockey shop.
Fun to see.
I was not ready for that.
Yeah, but I don't think
It was like Ken Jones. That'd be
I'd be surprised if they call it.